Alright, I'm gonna make this quick because my phone only has 10%. So this video is gonna be about the pregnancy test line progressions that I had on 3 different kinds of tests. The first response, the Dollar General cheapies, and some Amazon cheapies that I got in a bulk pack. So I wanted to apologize first for saying and so much in the video. This is my first video, so I was unsure of how to speak with the video going. It sounds kind of silly, but anyways, what else was I gonna say? Oh, so if you have enough money to and you can afford the first response tests like these, I would definitely, I don't know how to get this in there, I would definitely use these if you can. They're a little more expensive, but the pink dye is, honestly, I would just not use blue dye test at all because they're known for giving you false positives. So there's that. And then you'll see in the video that I did not like these purple ones that I got from Dollar General because the lines were just so faint on these. So if you want to go for a cheaper test, I would get these on Amazon. They're Clinical Guard. If you just look up Clinical Guard pregnancy tests, you can get them in a bulk pack for really, really cheap, and they end up being way under $1, I think, per strip. So this is definitely better and cheaper than this, or at least it was in my case. So there's that. And what else did I want to say? Oh, I used all 3 tests, and it kind of freaked me out when one test wasn't getting darker and these tests were getting darker. This one got darker, but really slowly. The first response is definitely the best test, but obviously also the most expensive. I would go for one test, and I would go for one of these, the first response or the Clinical Guard, just so you don't freak yourself out that the tests look different. I would stick to the same brand of test. So let's get into the video. I also wanted to apologize for the way I sound. That was the other thing I was gonna say. I sound really nasally because I cannot stop sneezing. That's one of my pregnancy symptoms that I've had all 3 times. With 2 chemical pregnancies and then this pregnancy. I'm now 10 weeks. I forgot to say that too. So I sound so nasally because I can't stop sneezing and my nose is always stuffed up. And I already sound like a baby anyways. That's just my voice. That's the way I sound. I know it's probably really annoying, but I'm sorry. Okay, so these tests right here are from my second chemical pregnancy that happened in January of 2020. So the first test I took was 12 DPO in the afternoon or evening. And you can tell it's pretty light, but you can definitely see it there. Got darker at 13 DPO in the morning. Still got darker at 14 DPO, and maybe even a little darker at 15 DPO, but I was starting to get concerned that it wasn't a whole lot darker yet. But I think by 16 DPO in the evening, I kind of knew it was probably going to be another chemical pregnancy. And then by 17 DPO in the morning, I definitely knew it was. So with this chemical pregnancy, my HCG levels never got above 42, I think. And they didn't double. And these tests right here are all from my current pregnancy. So I started testing on 10 DPO, and it's definitely there. Got a lot darker on 11 DPO. About the same 12 DPO, maybe a little darker at 13 DPO. darker on 14 DPO. Darker on 15 DPO. Hard to tell there on 16 DPO. I think the line might be thicker though. 17 DPO. DPO was a lot darker. It really started taking from the control line there. So I stopped testing for a few days, and you can tell the control line almost disappeared by 22 DPO. So you can kind of see, hopefully, where I wrote my HCG whenever I had my blood drawn. So here, and here, if you do the math, it actually almost tripled every 48 hours. So that was huge, a big indicator that this pregnancy would be successful. Of course, I was still nervous, but I'll show you a comparison here on 14 DPO. So there's that one from my current pregnancy, and this one from my last chemical pregnancy. And you can see the difference there. Concentrated, I just wrote because that was concentrated urine. I had taken another test that day that was not concentrated, so anyways, there's that. And then I guess I'll compare like 16 DPO maybe. So there's the chemical pregnancy and there's the successful pregnancy. And then I also used these Amazon cheapies for a little bit. So I wanted to point out that these, unlike the first response, I think the control line must always just stay the same on these. The test line here can only take so much dye from the control line. So that was something I didn't know. I expected the control line to get a lot lighter, but every test is different. So yeah, that's the difference with these. And then the other thing I wanted to show you guys was these cheap $1 tests from Dollar General. A lot of people say these are really great tests and they're really sensitive, that they'll pick it up really early, but that was not the case for me. So I want to show you compared to the first response on 12 DPO. On the cheap test, you really can't hardly even see the line on the camera, but it's clearly there on the first response here. So then 13 DPO, the test line was almost as dark as the control line on the first response, but again, it just was hardly there on the cheap test. And then the really crazy thing is on 17 DPO, my HCG was 1,144, and the test line on this right here was even darker than the control line on the first response, but it wasn't even as dark as the control line on the cheap test. So I wouldn't recommend these $1 tests. If you can, and if you're a crazy testing person like me, or you've had losses before and you just want to make sure, I would definitely go for the first response test over these.